Breaking news.
Breaking news tonight from the Kalos region, where a local YouTuber, known as Gecko, is testing how dumb one person can be, all while balancing parenting responsibilities and playing Pokemon, costing them their save file and a chunk of progress. This is hardly the first time questionable judgment has been on display. Sources recall a now infamous incident involving dragon-tailing a Dedenne and struggling to use a dowsing machine. Security footage at the local Pokeball factory caught the action, where Gecko struggled to find a door. Not a good start. Rather than seeking out the proper authorities, Gecko opted to try to take on a criminal organization known as Team Flare. In one of her battles, she forgot that Mjolnir had been confused, so Mjolnir hit herself in confusion, causing unnecessary damage. Luckily, the majority of the rest of the battles within the facility seemed to go smoothly. Finding herself in the president's office, she encountered two admin, which is when another child joined her. The two of them took on the admins in a double battle. Unfortunately, her friend was no help at all, with their Meowstic fainting on the very first turn. The dastardly duo then tried to double up on our young hero, but the plan backfired. The Liepard took itself out thanks to Rocky Helmet Chip. Our heroes were then able to double up on the Manectric and eventually take it out. Unfortunately, there was a brief interruption in the footage, and the criminals appear to have escaped. No news yet on where they have gone. But we did manage to catch a heartwarming moment where the president rewarded each of the children with a Master Ball and a big nugget for their good deeds. Will this encourage more children to risk their lives tackling grown criminals and dangerous situations in the hope of earning rewards? Only time will tell. We caught up with the president later, who informed us that the recent theft should have no effect on Pokeball sales. Not long after the Pokeball factory incident, reports came in of Gecko making her way to the next town, where she found herself in a battle with a Seadra. She switched into Greninja, but had no good moves against this Pokemon, while Tinkerbell, on the other hand, had two grass moves. Luckily, Seadra had little to hurt Naruto with as well. Eventually, she did manage to figure it out. She also spent far too much time and resources trying to catch a Klefki, which will forever remain in her box. In a double battle on the same route, she swapped Mjolnir in against a Drifblim's Shadow Ball, which left it with only 9 HP, and dropping her special defense. Rather than switching Mjolnir out, she banked on Water Shuriken doing more hits than it did, so Mjolnir went down to Drifblim's follow-up Shadow Ball. This also caused Naruto to be hit by far too many grass moves and take far too much damage. Surprisingly, Gecko did manage to make it all the way to Frost Cavern. Our altruistic hero heard that Mamoswine sends trouble in Frost Cavern and offered to investigate, instead of seeking proper authorities. After getting momentarily outsmarted by a children's puzzle, she did eventually find her way through the cave. However, in an optional battle, she did underestimate Hariyama's wake-up slap, causing Poe to faint in a single hit. At the end of the cave, Gecko discovered more members of the criminal organization Team Flare, and once again attempted to challenge them directly rather than contacting the authorities. This time, roping in another child. While Gecko easily dispatched the grunt, rather than helping her companion, she opted to take on the admin. Which is where we saw yet more evidence of why you should never play Pokemon while sleep deprived. Gecko opted to use Flame Charge against a Flash Flyer Houndoom, boosting his power. Houndoom took out Talon with only 2 foul plays. Tinkerbell barely scratched it with Fairy Wind. Finally switching to Greninja, she was able to eventually take it out using Water Shuriken. After her harrowing adventures, she did decide to get some reprieve on Mamoswine Road, enjoying a ride around on the back of a Mamoswine. Her relaxing journey was cut short due to her crying son. Perhaps that is why she forgot to use a repel on the route, causing her to nearly lose another Pokemon to a wild Sneasel. Eventually she had to switch to Poe and take it out. In Anastar City, she was challenged by her friend to a Pokemon battle outside the gym. She wasted time getting Stealth Rocks up, nearly losing Titan in the process. However, the rest of the battle was smooth. Within Anastar Gym, most of the gym battles were relatively easy, except for one trainer's Executor, as Psyshock did much more damage than was expected. Despite regular missteps, the battle against Olympia was relatively smooth. Olympia led Sigilif, which proved to be a bit of a challenge for our young hero's Doublade. It set up a Reflect, and Psychic did way more damage than was expected, and even got the special defense drop. But Mjolnir was able to get to +4 attack, while Sigilif just went for Light Screen. Olympia's 2 Hyper Potions did delay things for a little bit, but it allowed enough time for Reflect to wear off, and Mjolnir was able to sweep Olympia's team with Shadow Steak. Finally, with the Psychic Badge in hand, it appeared our hero had gotten hold of herself. Not long after, there was a brief moment where Lysandre commandeered all broadcasting networks, so that he could provide a doomsday message to the world. Again, instead of seeking out proper authorities, Gecko took it upon herself to stop Lysandre. However, she spent far too much time in her town map, attempting to fly to Lumio City. It took her a while to realize she had to teach Fly to Talon in order to get there. Arriving back in Lumio City, Gecko went straight to the Red Cafe, where the 2 grunts inside made her look like a genius, providing both the password and the location to the secret door. Security footage from within the labs shows Gekko fearlessly taking on Lysandre completely unprepared. Against his Mienfoo, she led Titan, who was still damaged from the previous battle, and had to immediately switch to Talon on a high jump kick. Mienfoo's sword stance was useless against a single fly from Talon, which took it out. Lysandre's Gyarados proved to not be so easy. Gekko switched to Tinkerbell, who was also already damaged from the fight with the grunts. She was immediately taken out by a single Aqua Tail from Gyarados. Gekko switched to Naruto, hoping his water resistance and super effective smackdown would help her. However, it did nowhere near enough damage, while Gyarados' outrage did massive damage. In desperation, Gekko went for another smackdown, and Gyarados quickly took out Naruto. With Gyarados now confused, Gekko could only pray that the damage would be enough. Thankfully, Mjolnir survived a super effective Earthquake from Gyarados, and was able to take it out the following turn with one last Shadow Sneak. Against Pyroar, who bears a striking resemblance to Lysandre, Gekko swapped to Talon. Acrobatics did pitiful damage, while Hyper Voice nearly took Talon out. However, a follow-up fly was able to finish off the Pyroar. Last was Lysandre's Murkrow, which was able to endure a Flame Charge and take Talon out with a foul play. Talon was able to burn the Murkrow on his way down though. With only 3 Pokemon left, Gekko sent out Titan, who took a Steel Wing like a champ and finished off Murkrow with one final Dragon Claw. It was at this point that Gekko realized that Titan should have evolved by now. Upon further research, she realized that it needed to be daytime in order for Titan to evolve. So she opted to change the time on her device, without properly shutting down her game. This caused the game to crash. After restarting, Gekko realized it had been some time since she had saved the game, as she found herself all the way back in Dendemille Town. On the bright side, she was finally able to evolve Titan to Tyrantrum. This time she also remembered to use Repels on Mamoswine Road, and finally realized that TMs are reusable and taught them to summon for Pokemon. Back outside Olympia's gym, she did not bother setting up Stealth Rocks against her rival. The Executor within Olympia's gym was now trivial. Against Olympia herself, the fight was more or less the same, with Mjolnir sweeping her team after getting to +4 attack. After finally making it almost all the way back to where she was, Gekko immediately saved her progress, just as her baby began to cry. Will next time go better, or is she bound to continue to repeat the same mistakes? Only time will tell. This is very different than any of the episodes I've done in the past. I would really love some feedback. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and let me know if you would like to see more episodes like this. Also, consider liking and subscribing if you want to catch the next episode.